Welcome back, sir.
Good.
Before we start, when was the last time you had a 200 to 1 winner?
Let me think. Never.
Don't take too long.
No, I'll try not to. No, never.
Never.
You had it in your 10 to follow or 20 to follow, wasn't you?
In the 20 to follow, yeah. Now, hands up. When I put that 20 to follow together, I was thinking 9 to 4, 5 to 2, something like that.
And running in lesser class races, probably.
Yeah.
But that's on our list for a little bit later. Excuse the sunglasses, everybody. I've got bright lights coming in through my room. I can't see the screen otherwise, so I have no choice. Hides my face, so be grateful. Where are we starting? We're starting with. So there's actually two of these things went on, but we've only covered one.
There is. Oh, well, I've added a little bit at the end about the other one.
Yeah. Mr. William Haggas, the well-known Newmarket trainer, sat in on Nick on the Sunday and caused a bit of a social media furore by daring, in inverted commas, to criticise Mr. Murphy, the jockey. What did you make of that, Ron?
Well, I couldn't really. It seems William's not a fan of the man.
Who knew? Yeah.
Recognises that he's got a brilliant talent.
Yeah.
And he also made veiled remarks. I'll put that no stronger than that, to the effect he doesn't like his activities away from racing.
Yeah.
That was my interpretation of it. I don't see what he actually gained by going public with his thoughts about Oisin Murphy. Did he just want to get something off his chest? Was he saying to the stewards, you want to keep an eye on this lad? But if that was the point he was trying to make, I wouldn't hold his breath getting the stewards to do anything.
But for those who didn't read it, listen to it, see it, it was basically his race riding tactics. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. And that he can shut the door occasionally on his opponents, stop their momentum. I believe the phrase he used was, but if you're on a bicycle in a bicycle race and you have to stop suddenly, you can't actually get going again. That was exactly what he said, because I've copied the quote. I don't get into trouble. I don't disagree with what he said there at all. That's quite correct. I see that as tactical. There's a borderline for when that becomes dangerous, and that's up to the stewards to enforce that. That's not up to William Haggas, you or me, quite frankly. It was a bit of a surprise. The only thing, dare I say it, almost a breath of fresh air, in that racing is a fairly confined community where very few people ever criticise anybody else within the industry. And that's been like that for as long as I can remember. And it was a bit of a rarity for someone to dare to come out and criticise the multiple champion jockey, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Bit of a strange one. And then, just in case she got left out, his wife, Maureen, came out and criticised the legendary Zach Purton for his ride on Lake Foray, I think it was, in Australia, describing it as something along the lines of the worst ride she's ever seen.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to look back at that or anything?
I've not had a chance to look back at it. I've read what she was saying. The thing is, just going back to Murphy for a second, when it comes to professionals in sport, they'll use any tactics they can to get an edge on an opponent. And going back to Maureen's comments about Zach Purton, all the top jockeys that I've ever known have ridden the odd stinker.
Oh, yeah.
You know, can you imagine if William Haggas or Maureen, given that, were the manager of a Premier League team, and after a game that their side has lost, he's ranting and raving about share pulling and pushing in the penalty area when there's a corner about to be taken, or Maureen going, my top striker is absolutely useless because he just missed an open goal. I mean, get a grip, you know?
I'd like to point out that Ron's probably only saying that because he knows I'm an Everton supporter, and we have a striker who regularly seems to be missing them at the moment, but hopefully he'll come good. Best of luck, Beto. Yeah, also, everyone's entitled to a bad day at work. You tell me you've never had a bad day at work. We've all had days where we do things wrong. Anyone who says they haven't, I'm afraid, I'm sorry, I don't believe you. We all have good days and bad days, and they're actually doing a job. They might be doing it carrying our money or riding a very expensive racehorse to try and win even more money. So I guess it's more of a knock-on effect, but we all have a bad day at work. Now, you and I watched a race the other day. We probably won't name it just in case anybody looks into it any deeper, but basically the odds on the favourite, who I strongly fancy, so yes, I am talking through my wallet, started probably 10 lengths behind everybody else deliberately, so it wasn't an issue. Was hunted round at the back of the field as per trainer instructions I've read since, and basically never finished closer than 8th, running on through beaten horses late, never really put in the race, never really had a chance. Now, Has that jockey been criticised? Not that I've seen. So only
Not
Maureen,
publicly.
because William wasn't actually talking about one of his horses that I know of with regard to some of Murphy's alleged
No, I think it was one of Gosden's.
Yeah, but Maureen was talking about one of their horses. Now,
Yeah. Yes,
that's
she was.
between her, only her and Zach know exactly what the riding instructions were. So if he was told to follow horse A and then try and appear in the final furlong and horse A wasn't going fast enough or horse A blocked his route or whatever, then he'd done what he was told and it didn't come off. Now, I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just saying there's more to it than just watching a race and going, that horse didn't win, therefore it's the jockey's fault. It's not quite that simple. Was the horse good enough? Who knows? Obviously, Maureen thinks he was. Was the riding instructions to stay out the back, in which case that's what he did, and oops, he wasn't good enough to get to the front when needed.
Yeah.
So there's more to it, but I just think it's a rarity for them to be criticised like that. Now, I think you're right. I think that interview with Haggas has put an arrow to the stewards to keep a closer eye on everything that he does from now on. I don't have a problem, and I don't imagine Mr. Murphy will have a problem either. I'm only saying Mr. Murphy because I always get his name wrong. Because if he's riding within the rules, he's fine. If he's outside of the rules, then the stewards should spot that anyway. Whether he's champion jockey or an apprentice is irrelevant. They should all be spotted. But interesting, it got a few media inches, column inches, if there is such a thing these days.
Yeah.
Outside of the racing press because of it. Can't imagine there'll be too many Christmas cards going on either way between.
Like Haggas said, he'll probably never talk to me again. But that's his problem.
I wouldn't imagine that he was planning to use him very often
No.
anyway.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he likes the man, to be honest with you.
Moving on. And I've put down here 200 to 1 and 100 winners on Champions Day at Ascot. Anyone who backed them both, well, you won't be listening to this, will you? Because you'll be on a yacht in the Caribbean enjoying your well-deserved holiday if you back those two in a double. What do you make of that?
Well, to be honest with you, I won't say I expect it, but it's this time of year, isn't it? I mean, like I say, I found the 200 to 1 winner, just saying. But seriously, it's the end of the season, and I've lost count of the number of times that I put in newsletters that go on holiday in October.
Yeah.
The flat season is winding down. I thought Champions Day was the end of the season, right? But we're going to be talking about more Group 1s and listed races and Group 2 races later on.
Sure.
And you think, what's the point? I don't see the point of running these horses in this class of race now at this time of the season when they're going to be running on heavy ground or ground they've never encountered before. And you say to yourself, well, I think they use the word funky a lot in newsletters. And that basically does describe a lot of the results we see in October. They are just simply funky. It was nice to read the messages, though, from the guys that did get on the 200 to 1 winner. And the guy, the lad that won the Phil Rowan, he won the a competition that he'd entered in April. That it was way down the league going into the final day, but he decided to nap 200 to 1 winner, which put him right to the top of the leaderboard and also won him the prize for the biggest priced winner of the season. I mean, that's something else, isn't it? That's brilliant news.
Can you imagine tipping a 200 to 1 winner is something I've never done in my life, and I don't think I ever.
I'm not going to say I tipped it,
But napping the 200 to 1 winner, that's just incredible. I've written down roughly what you said, really. I gave the Champions Day a bit more leeway this year because it wasn't run on a trophy ground. It's always been.
Yeah, you said that before we started last week, yeah.
I've said the same about the Arc in the past as well. I mean, I accept they're top class horses, but again, it's the end of a long, hard season for many. It's often run on horrendous ground. It was this year as well. I'm not convinced it's quite the race everybody else tells me it is. It has more media hype to me. And it goes my invite to Longchamp next year. But I gave them more of a chance this year because the ground was better. I just wonder if it's a long, hard season. Is this a target for many of them? If they're targets earlier in the season, they're trying to keep them on the go this late. I mean, I looked at the form of it as well. I mean, that Powerful Glory, he was last of 5 in a Class 2 at Beverley, described as never dangerous, rated £20 inferior to the runner-up who only had to give him £1. Okay, congratulations to those who found the 200 to 1 winner. Clever old you. I'll go through that form book and I won't back him in the replay. because there's just no chance that he can win it. He did, but there's no chance he can. Cicero's Gift, 100 to 1 shot, rated £11 inferior to the line in
Yeah,
winter at the weight, £17 inferior to favourite Field of Gold, and he
yeah,
won
yeah.
by a length of a quarter. The only thing I can say on that, for interest's sake, I believe that was his first start after a wind-up, one of the two. Can't remember which one of it was.
Powerful Glory was, yeah.
But yeah, well, that makes you keep a closer eye out for wind-ups, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I always whenever I see a market mover that I'm putting in the newsletter, I always
Yeah.
make sure it's got the little W next to it so people know this horse has had that wind up. There might be something in this one.
Well, here's one interesting for you, which you don't know I'm going to say because wind-ups have suddenly popped up. We do script this roughly, but bits come up now and again. Did you know that if Irish runners come over for, we'll say Cheltenham, it could be any meeting at all, if they've had a wind-up in Ireland between their last race and their race in the UK, I'm open to correction you, but I'm pretty certain that I'm right, then that has to be declared. Okay.
Yeah.
But if they had it prior to that, shall we say one race before, it's
Yeah.
not declared.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
how many
Yeah.
horses have we all spotted who do better on their second race after a wind-up?
Yep. they
I've
do.
always wondered whether, I won't say jockeys are kind on them, that's an unfair thing to say, but whether a horse is booted to the extremes on its first run after a wind-up, or are you actually running around to see, did it actually work? Is he
been
taking any
told.
oxygen needs?
I've been told by a trainer that what they tend to do first time after the wind up is to let the horse know that it can now breathe. You don't
Yeah.
give it the bifters next time out. It's the second time that the horse knows I can breathe. And so it does.
So how many horses are heading over from Ireland, having that one race to know it can breathe after a wind-up, then
You will
running
never know.
in a handicap, for want of an argument, at Cheltenham or anywhere else, second run after a wind-up, and the British punters are completely unaware. Now,
Because they don't have to declare it in Ireland, you know.
they don't. They're not interested. We asked the question. Well, I didn't. Matt Bisogno asked the question of them a week or two ago, and they've come back saying they don't declare it and they don't have no intentions of doing so either.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's something to be wary of. If you watch an Irish horse being backed off the boards in a Cheltenham handicap that looks like it's got no chance whatsoever, I would not fall over in shock if it came out in the wash later on that it had a wind-up 2 races back. Right, moving on. Where are we going to next? Cheltenham again. We're focusing on Cheltenham because, hey, how do you focus on anywhere else at this time of year?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, Cheltenham. Tuesday to Friday or Wednesday to Saturday, Ron. What's your thoughts?
Oh, it's got to be Tuesday to Friday. I mean, who actually thought that by putting it on a Saturday they could compete with football?
Yeah,
Who was
good
the
point.
bright spark who said, we'll have this meeting on the Saturday because we will take fan base away from Liverpool, I say Liverpool, football, Premier League. They've got no chance. So what are they going to do? Are they going to say, right, we'll wait then for the international break, and that means we'll have to shift Cheltenham back a week or forward a week, which then spogs Aintree because they're only 2 or 3 weeks after Cheltenham. You know, it ain't broke, don't fix it. I know that's an old saying, but I'm always with that. They get the crowds through the door. I know the crowds are dropping. They will drop even more if they go on a Saturday. If they think they're going to take people away from football on a Saturday to go racing, they've got no chance.
Now, I'll put my hand up and say I hadn't even thought about the football. I'll have to rewrite my column now. Yeah, I hadn't thought about the football at all. What I thought about was, what about the meetings that follow Cheltenham on the Saturday anyway? Because you're going to decimate them for crowds if you put a Cheltenham.
Yeah.
And also, first thing we ought to say is they're not doing this.
No, it's just been mooted at the moment.
They're considering it, and I think there's enough negative feedback that I doubt they do it, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, like the 5th day.
Yeah, but do you not think that they're sort of, even they're looking at it, that they're unaware? Well, firstly, they've actually reduced the numbers, maximum numbers allowed anyway, because people were complaining it was overcrowded. So no point in getting huge numbers through regardless. And the biggest thing to me, having been there a few times, is entry fees, food prices, drink prices, and most importantly, unless you live in the area, accommodation. Now, I appreciate that there's very little Cheltenham Racecourse can do other than beg local hotels and Airbnbs to drop their prices. But if you ran a business, why would you? They probably make all their money in that 4 days, and that's it for the year for most of them. So business is business. You can't blame them for getting as much money as they can. That's just how the world is. But I put sticking plaster on a gaping wound as usual, as is racing's habit sometimes. I don't believe moving it to the Saturday is the answer. Yeah, they might get an extra couple of thousand on the Saturday. They might not, if that's what they want to try. But I don't think it's going to solve their issues by any stretch of the imagination. Now, if my local bar can sell a pint for £4, it's a club, admittedly.
Yeah.
Why is it £7 for the same pint at Cheltenham?
That's always been my question.
Just my club's not making a loss.
Chippy's knocking out fish and chips at £8 or £9. You're paying nearly £15 on course. Why? And it's
Make
not
a
as
profit.
good.
Of course, they've got to make a profit. No one's arguing that they can't make a profit, but your fish and chip shop's making a profit as well. And my club is making a profit at £4 a pint. It's not making as much, but it's making a profit. So maybe they need to balance the scales of income, if you like, by losing a little on food and drink, but in return, getting a full house each and every day of Cheltenham, regardless of the weather, and the same for the future, because people don't come back saying, I've been ripped off. Because that's all we hear on social media is people going, this much for a pint. No one says great day at the races. They just say, how much for a pint of Guinness, basically. And that's not good. Yeah, I'm not in favour. I don't think it's the answer at all.
No.
So we agree on something once again. What is going on?
Absolutely. I've not spoken to anybody or had a message back from anybody that's in favour of it.
No, I just don't see the point. Plus, how old are we, Ron? Yeah, we're Methuselah age. I wasn't happy when they moved the Derby to the Saturday, to be honest, because part of it was taking a day off in the week to go to the Derby. That was part of the fun, was taking the day off.
Yeah.
They don't move the Melbourne Cup. He said everyone has a day off to go to the Melbourne Cup.
Part
of it is doing that, and it's changing it to a weekend. It sort of just loses something to me.
Mhm.
But still, on to the last one that I threw at you.
Yeah.
Have a little look. Irish racing enforcing the rules as, in my opinion, they should. At Naas, Aidan O'Brien and co tried to change jockeys in a handicap, I believe it was, and the Irish Racing Authority said,
Well, it was a reserve, wasn't it?
I'm going to let you take the rest of the story, you see.
The reserve came in, so they thought, right, we'll put our main man on the reserve.
Yeah.
Now I've got the perfect solution to this. Ban reserves. But the thing is, you see, like we just mentioned then about the Irish and Windops, right? They love a little bit of skullduggery. They love shenanigans, right? I watch the markets like a hawk, and the number of times I've looked at an Irish hurdle race and I've seen one of the top trainers have got a reserve in that is being backed before anything has actually come out of the race. I could write a book about them. It happens all the time. And I don't know how many of them win or how many of them don't win, but that's not the point. The fact is, a little bit of skullduggery is going on, and everybody can see it. They're not stupid. And even Ruby Walsh was in that article that we've got the link to, and I'll put that on the YouTube video when it goes up. He was saying, well, punters can always wait until the last minute to have a bet. And I'm thinking, no, they can't. I get my newsletter out by 7 o'clock in the morning, Monday to Friday, and 9 o'clock in the morning, Saturday and Sunday, because I know people are going to work. And I'm flattered that they want to read my stuff and make a decision on what horses to bet before they go to work. So if they're backing Aidan O'Brien's horse with the top stable jockey on it, and unbeknownst to them, by the time they've got behind their desk or are driving their bus or whatever, somebody's decided, right, we're going to get on to this one now. We're backing the other one. Something's got to come out. Who arranges that? Who knows? Is it arranged? Who knows? But a horse always seems to come out to let the well-backed reserve into the race. Now, automatically, I'm just thinking, you're up to something. And what are their stewards doing about it? You know, I know they can now say, well, we did say that their jockey couldn't swap, so that's a rule we've got in place. But now they're having ructions over there to get that rule changed. And it wouldn't surprise me if it worked, you know.
Well, firstly, I'm all in favour of what you said. I would still have reserves. If only British racing had enough runners to have reserves, we're struggling to get full.
Yeah.
Because it's nice, if you've got an important, valuable 16-runner handicap and you just missed out by 1 or 2 spots, then you'd like to have the ability to be a reserve to get into that race if you can. And
Well, you
also
have
for a
to be at the
punter,
track, and if you
yeah,
don't get him, what a waste of money that is, going all the way to the track. So you Lucinda Russell sending one to Cheltenham, 900-mile round trip.
yeah, yeah. I see what you're saying, but then also from a punter's perspective, you've got a 16, 17 runner field, a nice each way first four,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
all of a sudden two come out, there's 15 runners, you're only being paid out on the first three. And as is Sod's Law, and happened to me the other week, mine finished fourth at a nice big price. And in exactly that scenario, you say skullduggery, I have to say that's how racing is for the
Of
majority
course
of
it
people.
is.
If you and I sat here and went through the form book and came up with a horse that couldn't lose,
Yeah,
theoretically, and then went, because it finished third in this race, second in that race, the trip, people would have fallen asleep halfway through the conversation.
yeah,
But if you told them that you knew someone who knew someone who knew who was going out with the girl whose brother was the window cleaner for
yeah, yeah.
one of the top stables, and he'd heard of an unraced horse, they'd be opening their wallets to put the money on, because that's just how racing has always been. Now, whether it should be, whether that's good or bad, I don't know. I'm all in favour of the Irish doing this, because quite often, part and parcel, not always part, but sometimes part and parcel of my race assessment is, oh, well, I fancy this horse or that horse. Oh, yes, well, that jockey's ridden the horse before, or it's ridden him on his last 4 outings, if you're lucky, that sort of thing. So the jockey knows the horse, it's up a couple of furlongs. Maybe the jockey suggested it needs an extra couple of furlongs. That sort of partly influences my decision. How's that work if you do all of that and then they switch to jockeys?
Yeah,
It's out the window. So you placed your bets on even more duff information than normal.
yeah.
So I hope it doesn't get changed. I'm in favour as it is. Barry Doyle, Coolmore, whoever it may be, any of the top stables, any of the top owners, they can't be dictating to the sport. The sport has to have rules. If they don't like them, then put in a suggestion to change them long term and see what everybody else thinks as well. But you can't have. I love Aiden. I do. He's really good with the media, fantastic bloke. But you can't have them bending the rules because it
No,
suits them. The rules are there for a purpose, and that's that. That's what we've got to live with.
yeah. It actually brought to mind, I don't know whether you remember it or not, a few years ago now, Kieran Fallon, he was at the track, but he wasn't booked to ride in this juvenile race. And a lower grade trainer had an apprentice up on one that was drifting like a barge during the day. Around about half an hour before the race, or an hour before the race, the jockey has rung the course to say, my car's broken down, I can't get there. This was the apprentice that was supposed to be riding it. And so they put Kieran Fallon on it, and it bolted him.
Mm-hmm.
They cleaned up, and there was a big stink about that at the time as well. I remember that. But I don't know whether they ever did anything about that.
I don't know either, so I'm not going to
No.
pretend to. You would like to think that the BHO had a look to see, did he actually break down? Is there any records of it
They
calling
did.
out?
Yeah, they checked everything out, yeah.
If that's what they did, then that's all they can do. And if you're
Yeah.
lucky enough, Kieran Fallon standing around waiting, looking
That
for a
was
ride,
lucky. Yeah.
lucky you, I
Jockey at the
suppose.
time he was, yeah.
Yeah, his son's not doing too bad now, is he?
Hey,
Still.
very good.
Okay. I still think we should call this the Face That's Made for Radio podcast, but never mind.
We are the Waldorf and Statler of racing, my friend.
Something like that. Shall we move on to the Saturday racing? Now we've bought
Yeah,
into
why not?
Right,
Flat racing,
starting
everybody, before you go any further. Flat racing.
2 o'clock, Newbury.
Yeah.
Only I
Well,
can
we've
make
only
my
had
mouth
8 previous runnings of this, so
Yeah.
in its current guise, that is. So I couldn't even produce what I'd call a mini profile, I'm afraid. Sorry about that. But last year, there was a 14-1 winner. Surprise, surprise. But that was the first winner to return an SP bigger than 7-1. And 5 of the 8 previous winners came home no bigger than 11-2. Obviously, age and weight stats don't apply. And right now, though, I'm thinking one of Senorita Vega, Leading Dancer, or Kane wins it, based on the limited stats we've got. That also fits the limited trends of our winner sitting front 3 on the tissue, because that's where they are. That was in 6 of the 8 renewals that I've worked on. The interesting thing for me was the draw. It doesn't matter about field size. In recent years, and if it applies tomorrow, you're looking for something that's drawn low. I don't understand why that is. And if that sticks tomorrow, I've got to suggest that Leading Dancer will be the one I'd pick for the race. I won't have a bean on it, but I'm putting up Leading Dancer purely for podcast purposes. Remember that?
You'll find he says that quite a lot, anybody new to us.
You
Who
don't-
is half purposes. Yeah, you basically named the same three I was going to name, really.
Yeah.
Senorita Vega's a form pick, finishing third in the Group 3 Oh So Sharp Stakes at Newbury. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
She does have a win on good to soft ground over course and distance to her name. Leading Dancer impressed to get off the mark at the second attempt, making all at Newcastle, and her breeding suggests she could handle this surface. I had hoped that Kane would be a bigger price than she is, if I'm honest with you, to back her each way, but she's not. Now, she won her only start to date, travelling well before going 3 lengths clear at Beverley on very soft ground, which is an encouragement for tomorrow's likely surface. She was sent off as big as 10 to 1 that day. That always suggests to me there may be more to come. I'm pretty certain that is the case, and I quote Ed Bethel saying after the race, "I never expect a horse to win first time out," unquote. That backs up my argument. I think she'd be a shorter price even if she was running for the obligatory household name. That's a saying you'll find I use quite a bit. I think she could be the surprise package here. If she's running for Gosden, she'd be 6 to 4 favourite. She's not, so she's about 100 to 34 to 1. So, yeah, Kane for me in the 2 o'clock at Newbury, purely because we know she can handle the.
Yeah.
And on to the 5 minutes later, so let's hope they go off on time.
Yeah.
2:05 at Doncaster. I'm still seeing heavy ground for Doncaster. It might dry out. It might get worse. I don't know. What have you got?
Well, it's a 6-runner Group 1 with 113,000 to the winner. And the front 3 on the tissue were all trained by Aidan O'Brien.
Handy.
But the field is headed by the current favourite for next year's Derby, Benvenuto Cellini. You can get 11 to 8 in places at the moment. He's generally run about 6 to 5, and he's absolutely rock solid. I mean, Christoph Simeon must think he's had his next 5 Christmases all come together at once, with Ryan Moore going out injured and him getting on all these good horses. He actually rode tomorrow's favourite last time out and went on to win a Group 2 by 5 lengths, which put him favourite for the Derby. The second favourite, Hawk Mountain, has been easy to bet, 15 to 8 out and 9 to 4. And it's Aiden's other one, Action, their supposed third string, that's attracted some support, 9 to 1, 7 to 1. I can only put up the favourites as the selection because everything points to him being A, their first string, B, the best horse in the race. But again, I'm only watching. I wouldn't be betting on it, just in case.
Interesting. And the reason I say it's interesting is I don't know if you noticed earlier in the week, those two have flip-flopped as favourites. Hawkside Mountain was favourite when the betting first.
Yeah.
And the two have flipped over now. So, yeah, what you said, basically, Benvenuto Cellini. Why can't they just call him Dave or something like that?
Easier, wouldn't it?
Is suddenly the favourite. I guess, with Simeon on board, that suggests he's their number 1 string. I'm going to be brave enough to say I think they've got it wrong. I'm all over, not all over. Hawk Mountain, I think, is far, far better value out of the two. Also won a Group 2 last time out, the same as the favourite did. Successful in the Beresford Stakes at the current. That's always a good marker for who the best juveniles in Ireland are. So that's nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever. More importantly, that was on soft to yielding. So
yeah, I was just going to say
he's got more chance of handling the ground. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think the favourite is a Frankel colt. Now, I'm not anti-Frankel by any stretch of the imagination, but I wouldn't dare to suggest that implies he likes heavy ground. So there is a concern there for me. Now, the trouble we do have, of course, is that there are so many O'Brien horses in there that who knows what the tactics are going to be.
Exactly.
That always becomes a massive issue when they have more than one in a race. Who they could send Hawk Mountain off and tell him to just go for it and set it up with the intention of setting it up for the others, in which case he'd have no chance. Yeah, he did make all last time out. On heavy ground, I wonder if he's given a decent ride on the front end, whether he might draw the finish out of the others on this ground. Now, is he my winner of the day? Is he Eckerslak, as they say? But I think he's got a chance. The fact that he opened up as favourite and has flipped over is a bit of a negative, but then the fact that he opened up as favourite suggests that others, not just me, thought he was the best horse of those in the race.
Yeah.
So I'll sit with Hawk Mountain. Again, I'm the same as you said earlier, purely for podcast purposes. No, I don't use that term. That's Ron's copyrighted that one.
Yeah,
I would say I probably won't have a bet on it. It's an interesting race to watch. We have Auguste Rodin won this in 2022, so it can turn up a top-class horse, that's for sure. I'm not convinced we'll learn very much with regard to next year's classics on this ground. But an interesting race worth watching, perhaps not worth opening the. On to the 240 at Doncaster next. 6 furlongs for you.
Last year's winner of this race was a horse called La Bellotta, and about 3 or 4 weeks afterwards, Wathnan Racing bought it for 25,000 guineas. It was top lot at the Goffs. Went to race in Saudi, raced twice since, finished runner-up in January, then on Cesar James Doyle in February, not been seen since. I think Wathnan Racing were properly mugged off with that one. For a listed race, this is pretty poor stuff. I'm looking at the past winners, and it seems that every year, mostly, it's a pretty poor race. But then it's October, you know. You're usually safe looking for the winner in the front 3 on the tissue, 7 of the last 9 where. So it's going to be one of Lam Yai, Spanish Waltz or Boston Dan that take the spoils here, I reckon. Now, when this market opened, you could get 10 to 1 for Lam Yai. He's now 9 to 4 favourites, or she's 9 to 4 favourites. Whilst that's probably got something to do with horses that have been shorter in the betting and have come out, probably right. But it's also being backed. I wasn't watching too much early doors because I was concentrating on Cheltenham. But it does seem significant that the money's come for that horse. Thing is, none of these is a winner on heavy ground already. And seriously, hands up, who bets on this type of nonsense? Only Spanish Waltz has actually tried heavy ground. Finished runner-up on debut, and that was at Fosslas. And as AP McCoy once said, when they got heavy ground at Fosslas, they've got heavy ground. I mean, it goes beyond heavy. I'll refer to Paul Mulrennan's Horrible. That's a cracking description of the ground, that. Thing is, he then won at Pontefract. Now, he's clearly blessed with stamina, but if he can come runner-up in a heavy ground race at Fosslas, and then go and win at Pontefract, because the home straight at Pontefract is like climbing the Eiger. I've got to put him up as a guess, because that's basically what it is. Because I've no idea whether the others will even put a foot in that ground, but I know he will, or she will. Spanish Waltz for me.
Interesting. We've had all sorts of winners in this race. 7 to 4 on shot in 2015, a 20 to 1 shot in 2016. All things are possible is what I've written down for that. None of them ever raced on ground as testing as this, but Lam Yai does have the best form. She finished the next second in the Group 3 Firth Clyde Stakes on soft ground last time out, so there is hope that she will handle this. Keeping on well over the 6 furlongs. I know this is 6 furlongs again, but it's going to feel like a bit longer if the ground's as bad as they think it is. So the fact she was staying on to be beaten a neck that day is a promising thing for me. Anyone looking at a bigger price, Quarter was sorely tempting. She scored over a furlong further on soft ground at Brighton before a weakening third over the Brighton Mile. Now, if I'm feeling greedy, I've written down I might have a small reverse forecast for fun to pennies. Yeah, I think Lam Yai's got the best form in the race. This is the problem with racing on these kind of surfaces. You can work out who's got the best form, and even then you're not always right, let's be realistic. But you can be thrown in the bin because the ground has gone completely and they don't handle it. But she's handled soft ground Quarter, so's Lam Yai. They both handle the ground. Lam Yai for me to win it. Quarter could go well, but would I fall over and faint if something else won it? Probably not. And then we move on to my one. Why am I the only one? Why am I the only one covering the 255 at Cheltenham?
Well, because I've got a little website going called itscheltenham.com. And what I do is I ask for people to pay £52, pound a week, to be a member of the site. It is chock full of stats. If you're a stats nut, it's all on there. But in addition to that, what I do is I provide profiling for every single race being run at Cheltenham from October to March, including the festival. In between times, we'll also have notices going up about horses you should be thinking about punting anti-post, that type of thing. And before we came on, I said to you, have you seen the first race results of Cheltenham today? Because it was the very first profile selection of 2025-26 and 8th season, and it's gone and won at 6 to 1. And I said to you, if you just put a tenner on that, you paid for your subscription and you're £18 in profit already.
Yep.
You know, so that's why I won't talk about, well, as much as you will talk about any race we do at Cheltenham during any season we're working on now. Apologies if that really bugs anybody.
It makes good sense. At the end of the day, this is free and probably priced fairly accurately at free. It's about what we're worth. But no, seriously, other people are paying some money for its Cheltenham, and so why would you give the same thing out for free
Yeah,
to other people?
that is it. I've got people kind enough to say, yeah, I'm having some of that.
Yeah.
So they get some of what I've got.
Which means it's down to me. So if you want to go and make a cup of tea that's not worth listening to, I don't blame you whatsoever. Okay, we're doing one race, or I'm doing one race while he drinks his cuppa. 2:55 at Cheltenham, a handicap hurdle over 3 miles, if I remember rightly, because I haven't written that down. Oh, yeah, you do. Right, I've gone through Ron style. Ron got me into profiling, so you can blame him entirely.
It's brilliant. Brilliant.
So I have gone and looked through the last 6. There have only been 16 runnings of this. So I've looked through all of them. I've gone back all 16 years. And to bore you to tears, all the winners started at 20-1 or shorter. Now, I have to add up that proviso while we're recording this. Obviously, I don't know the odds at the off. So I'm working with the odds at the time I wrote this. Something gets back from 33s into 16s. Suddenly it may appear. I can't do anything about that. Just a warning. And to show you I'm not lying. Right, all of them came from the first 10 in the market. 15 of the 16 were 9 or younger. Or four-year-olds have tried to win this. None has been successful yet. 15 were rated officially by the handicapper 125 or above. 15 were rated 145 or lower. And that's all I could come up with. Pretty dull stuff, eh? Using current odds, I've cut through the original 18 runners and now I have a short list of only 10 left.
There you go.
Usually this works a bit better than that, and you're down to 3 or 4, but that's not been the case. So my next port of call, as always, is the trainers. Now, only 2 responsible for the 10 left on my list, if that makes any sense, have won this before. Gordon Elliott took it with 9-2 at Chancellor Wall Park, and he's responsible for Serban Zarak and Winning Smut this year. But the Hobbs Yard is the one I've decided to focus on. They've won it before, 2009 with the Templar and in 2016 with Golden Doyen, and they've had another 2 that have placed as well. So that's not a bad record, or it's certainly the best record from a remarkably poor list of records to look at. So that points me in the direction of a horse called Tiny Tetley, which I presume is a small cup of tea, but it may be a village somewhere. You don't know, do you?
Well done.
Each way, because he's about 12-14-1 when I looked. What he is now, I don't know. His run of form in the spring of 3 wins and a next second, seen him forced to race off a career high mark of 136 this afternoon, which becomes the big question mark. But he's placed on his first start in each of his 2 seasons so far. That suggests he's the sort that can go well after a break and go well fresh. Easy to get fit, perhaps, as I think the trainers would tell you. He's got Callum Pritchard on board, claiming £5 for the saddle. Yet to finish out the first 2 when on board the 7-year-old gelding. He'll do for me in what I've laughingly described as a conundrum of a contest.
Yeah.
So Carol Vordermeet, your heart out. Tiny Tetley for me each way. Small stakes, reasonable price, enjoyable race. And lest we forget, is the qualifier for the Potenz hurdle, which we will see in full March next year at the Cheltenham Festival.
The winners of these qualifiers have a very poor record in the.
They do. You need to finish in the first 4, I believe it is, to get in, unless they changed it. So keep a note of the horses that finish 3rd and 4th in one of the qualifiers, and then do very little.
The first 6, didn't it? And I've forgotten the Irish jockey they used to use to make sure a horse finished in the first 6 and then got to Cheltenham.
Yeah, that's all you're after, is getting into the qualifier. You do
have
to
Irish lads in the shenanigans again, you know.
It is, but you can't bend it too far because the handicapper still has a say. So obviously you've got a maximum field of whatever it may be. I'd have to look it up. Come Cheltenham, we'll say 20 for one argument. So if you're not in the 20 highest in the handicap weights, then you don't get in.
You don't get in.
It's a very tricky game they have to play. You can't just finish 4th in this and then lose your next 6 races to get a low mark, because you simply won't get into the race. So
there is a qualifier run in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to tell you when it's run. I will tell it'scheltenham.com members when it's run. That ensures that the horses that are running in it will get in if they finish in the first 4.
Really? Wow. Outrageous. Right.
I tell you, it's all shenanigans. All shenanigans.
No more shenanigans.
They know exactly what they're doing, the lads over there, I tell you.
I think
By the way, did you notice when you mentioned a couple of horses earlier on it, I did go, I
No, I
put in the
didn't.
text that I'll put on the website that I will nod sagely and wink if you mention one that I'm going with.
That's interesting. I didn't
Oh,
notice.
you'll have to look back and see, when did he wink?
Yeah,
Might have been something
genius,
behind, mightn't it?
genius as I am, while I'm reading off my other monitor that's got the stuff I've written down, I find it very difficult to look back down again and see if you're winking. So I can't do that all the time, I'm afraid. My head will fall. What?
I didn't think so.
Back to the flat, 3-10 at Newbury. I've talked
Oh,
myself
yeah.
out. You can stop this one.
It's another juvenile race, all
Yeah.
carrying the same weight. So again, I can only go with what the markets are saying and hope they pull a rabbit out the hat. Given we've had 3 winners return SPs of 16 to 1, 33 to 1, and 10 to 1 in the last 8 years, I'm not actually sure what kind of rabbit it's going to be. Probably one that's ready for a stew. 6 of the last 10 winners, we're actually on the front 3 in the tissue, but we've not had one winning favourite so far.
Ooh.
I'm looking to one of Pandemonium or Stellar Sunrise for my winner in that case, and it's got to be Pandemonium because he's 1 from 1 on the ground and he's 2 from 2 at the trip. The rest have got it all to prove on the ground. Basically, I'd not want to trust my money to guesswork if I was having a bet, which I'm not. But I'm going to put up Pandemonium as a definite selection in this race.
Well, I hate it when we agree on something. I see I've got my sunglasses. I would have given you the wink as well, but no one can see. Yeah, I've always liked the Horace Hill Stakes. I've no particular reason why, and that doesn't mean I found the winner. But I've always liked it as a race to look at.
Yeah.
7 runners, so no chance first 3 for an each way option, which is really annoying at weekends. I do think they do something to get the bigger field. So now time to turn heads to markets to Charlie Appleby and William Buick. Wins at Wolverhampton Ascot. 8th of 9 in the Group 1 Prix Jean-Luc Lagardère at Longchamp, which was a much higher class of race. But was it the class of the race or was it the softer surface that found him out?
Who knows?
We won't know that till after this contest, will we?
No.
But there is a possibility it was the ground, in which case he's not going to handle this either. So we'll have to wait and see. I've gone for Pandemonium as well. As I've said, pretty much what you said. He's done nothing wrong so far, winning by close to 4 lengths on soft ground at Yarmouth, doubled up with a 2-length success at Redcar on good to soft. Every reason to think he's going to handle the ground as well as, or better than most. Big step up in class. The last one was a Class 4 novice to a Group 3. But they did nominate this as his target straight after his last victory.
They did? Yeah.
And he likes to make the running as well. I can see the quicker bred horses may struggle to peg him back over this trip if he's given a sensible ride on the front end. So sorry to disagree with you, Ron, but Pandemonium for me as well.
That's okay. That's absolutely fine.
Only one to go.
At least. Yeah. Newbury 345.
Yeah.
And the last 2 winners of this race have both returned SPs of 22 to 1. We had a 20 to 1 winner in 2016. So everybody's been warned again. You've got the current issue favourite, Ancient Wisdom, who's already 0 from 4 at the trip. So why would you put that one at 5 to 2 when you know the ground is absolutely now spot on for Hamish, even though he's the age he is? He's 9 years of age now, isn't he? He's 2 from 3 on soft. He seems to be in some kind of form this season. He won his first 2 races. He's won 8 of his 14 races that he's contested at this trip. And I'll refer back to Ancient Wisdom already being 0 from 4 at this trip. Again, I'm not betting, but if I must nail my colours to any particular mast, it's that one of Hamish. You've got to go with Hamish, haven't you?
Yeah, the interesting thing, the horse that won at 22 to 1 for the last 2 years was a horse called Max Vega on both occasions.
Yeah.
Now he was trained, I don't think he's still in training, by Ralph Beckett. He's looking to see if he's found his successor with either Stars in Their Eyes or Revoir, who both run for the stable. So they could be interesting because he obviously knows the type needed. Haggas and Andrew Balding have both won this twice in the last 8 years. They run Hamish and Al Arsi, William Haggas, and Mount Atlas, respectively. Unsurprisingly, Mr. Murphy's not on any of them, which caused a shock there. Now, you know where I'm going here. I admit I lost my money on Hamish last time out when the 9-year-old was only 3rd at Ascot. It may be that retirement beckons. But he's won better races than this, loves the softer surface, unlike some, is yet to finish out the first 3 in 4 visits to this track with a win in April 2024. And with any luck, he can go out with a bang in the hope they then retire him with a lifetime of jogging around the field to look forward to. Now, that's my little dream. They should have some sort of soft focus on me while we're doing that or something along those lines. But yeah, I'd like to see Hamish win this and then potentially be retired. Now, The only thing I have to add to that, in case there's any animal welfare people listening in, highly unlikely, I accept, is that some horses don't like to be retired. They may well have
No, they
considered
don't. Can't
in
handle it.
before. Yeah, they might have considered retiring in before. I don't think they're going back to the well too often because they want the money. I don't think it's about that. I think it may well be that he simply can't. He likes his routine. He likes his exercise. He likes to get competitive. That does happen with horses. So it may well be that they continue with him if that's correct and that's how he is at home. I don't know. I could probably find out in the future, but I don't know at the moment. But in my dreams, Hamish wins this and then tootles off into retirement like I'd like to.
We've agreed on the last two.
I know, it's shocking, isn't it? How dull is that? Now, just want to interject there for anyone who's listening who's new, because we never know who's signing up. It's very easy to make this assumption that you all know who we are and where we come from and we've been doing this for years, etc. And some of you won't. And no, I'm not going to bore you with the biography. What I am going to say is that we aren't tipsters. We're here because we love racing. We take an interest in the sport and as much of it as we can possibly take in, because there's so much goes on every day. I can't take in everything. My brain's not big enough or non-existent at my age, to be fair. So we're here to talk racing, chew the fat about racing. I nearly said a rude word then. Chew the fat about racing. And then we just run through some races on a Saturday or on a major meeting and give you our thoughts. These are not tips, not paying, a brown envelope with a couple of tenors in it or something along those lines. Yeah, but the guys who used to hang around outside the race courses, I've got the winner of the 330, mate, only 20 quid. And they've probably just got a different name for everybody. That's not us. That's not who we are. Of course, we want to find you some winners. Last year, we did it on a podcast and not on YouTube. And I believe, was it 140 points profit we made? Something like that?
Yeah, roundabout. Yeah.
Yeah.
Over that was in 13 podcasts.
Yeah.
Across the summer.
So it can happen. We're not saying that we won't find you winners. And we're certainly not saying we're not trying to find.
Own trumpet. We're not bad at this,
Well, that's tempting fate, Ron. I'm not good
at you one winner.
Yeah. I'm not. Yeah. We know that we're doing, and we'll try to find you winners. But please, whatever. I'm not part of the Gamble Aware campaign or anything like that. But please be sensible with any bets you have. We can't guarantee giving you winners. It's meant to be a bit of fun. Racing is meant to be fun. Keep your bets to what you can afford to lose. And enjoy yourselves, and then come back next week to do more of the same. And also tell your friends. Tell your friends we might get sponsored by Saga Holidays or something like that at our age. There's always a possibility. You never know your luck. Now, before we do one for the week, something for the weekend is what we usually end with. But before we do that, we've added in something new that I haven't written down, haven't we, Ron?
Yeah.
What did we call it? Demystifying racing terminology.
Yeah, demystifying.
We're only going to do one thing a week because that's all we can cope with. It also means we can keep going with it a bit longer. But so this week we're going to do the little thing in racing called Rule 4. Now, many of you will have heard of it. Most of you will probably know what it is, but some of you won't. So please bear with us while we very briefly go through Rule 4. Over to you, Ron.
Well, basically, when a race is priced up, you've got your favourites, you've got your second favourite. Say there's 4 runners. And you've got your outsider at 16 to 1. So you've got 1 to 2, 5 to 2, 4 to 1, 16 to 1. And as they go to the post, before it's too late, and we'll discuss this again, there's something called reforming the market, but that's something we'll do again. What can happen is a horse might go lame at the start, is taken out, and it's too late for the bookmakers to reform the market. So the horses that remain in the race go off at their original starting prices. So whereas the 1 to 2 shot should now probably be about 1 to 5, it can't happen. So what the bookmakers are then allowed to do, once the horses have gone past the post, is look at the book, and they will say, right, well, we're going to apply Rule 4 because the 5 to 2 second favourite came out of the race at the start, couldn't win the race, obviously, and we were then in a position whereby we were giving you 1 to 2 for the favourite when he should have been 1 to 5, 1 to 7. So they then take a percentage of your winnings. Now, recently I pointed out a race to you, if you recall, where I think there was a 2 to 7 shot won the race. The second favourite had been 5 to 1. Came out at the start of the race. They couldn't reform the market. So the bookmakers was permitted to take something like 25 to 30% off your winnings because that second favourite didn't win. Now, that is what the Rule 4 is all about. It's a certain percentage that the bookmakers can apply to deduct from the winnings that you achieve, because basically your horse has now gone off at the wrong price. Have I explained it clearly enough?
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd add is a couple of things I'd add. One is it's cast in stone. There is a set rule for deduction.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
They can't decide, oh, I think we'll just take 50p in the pound out of this. They don't take it as a percentage. They take it as a okay, let's have a look at the first one I can look at here. If it's priced to up to 20 to 21 to 5 to 6, why they can't have these numbers, anybody's guess. It's 50p in the pound. So if you had a tenner on the winner, because that was the price of the horse that was withdrawn, then they would take 50p in the pound of your bets. So if you had a tenner on, you've actually got a fiver on.
You have.
If it's 1 to 9 or shorter, they take that's come out. These are the horses that come out. If the horse is 1 to 9 or shorter, it's 90p in the pound. If it's 10 to 1 to 14 to 1, it's 5p in the pound. And if it's over 14 to 1, there are no deductions whatsoever. Now, I get loads of social media saying it's outrageous. I back the winner and the bookies are taking loads of my money. The swines are worse, usually a bit more Anglo-Saxon than that, to be fair. But the reality is, if you knew in Ron's fictitious 4-horse race that one of them wasn't going to run because you saw it tread on a nail, or you drove past a broken down horse box on the motorway as you got there, or anything along those lines, or anything more nefarious than that, you could back all the other 3 runners in the race and guarantee yourself to make a profit, whichever one won.
Yeah.
We all love it to be like that, but unfortunately, if it was, the bookmakers would go bust. None of us could get a bet on. That's another thing for another day, that is. But none of us could get a bet on. There'd be no bookmakers. There'd be no levy going to the racing. There'd be no sponsorship of the racing from the bookmakers. And no, I'm not on the bookie side, trust me, but it would be disastrous for the sport as a whole. So that is the official rule of how they can make a deduction if a horse is a non-runner. So there is a reason for it. Hopefully that made a brief explanation. And we move swiftly on. Is there anything to add for anything like OMS or Cheltenham?
No, I'm still not tracking those at the moment. I've been getting all my ducks in a row this week for Cheltenham, and I'm pretty darn glad I did.
Yeah, well, him and I have both been in makeup for 3 hours to get to look.
Hey, yeah.
Something like that, or it's old man mask maybe we're wearing instead, I don't know. So all we're left with then is something for the weekend, which is basically usually one horse. Sometimes it'd been each way double or a treble, but basically, if someone gave us a tenner for a charity bet, what would you do with it? That's the way I look at it anyway. What's yours for the weekend then?
Pandemonium.
Pandemonium to win?
Straight on the nose, 310 at Newbury. It's got everything in its favour, bar, well, maybe 1 or 2 things, but then the others have got 5 or 6 things against them. So I've got to go with Pandemonium. I can't see another proper bet other than at Cheltenham, and you need my wet for Cheltenham to see that. But seriously, I wouldn't bet on the flat anyway now. But we'll go for Pandemonium. We'll give that one a shot.
Mine's going to be Kane in the 2 o'clock at Newbury. Racehead Bethel filly. Yeah, I think she'll handle the ground better than the others.
Yeah.
Could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. Wouldn't be the last time either.
We'll only know tomorrow.
And one last thing for me to throw into the mix that Ron doesn't know is coming. No, it's not a birthday present. There's no dancing girls appearing through the door.
Too early anyway.
Many years ago, he's bigged up a 200 to 1 winner. I can't compete with that. But many years ago, when I first started, we had a horse called Big Casino that I tipped up at 33 to 1. Do you remember that?
It was the very first selection you put up on Post Racing when you first joined me.
Yeah, unraced bumper horse at the time.
Yeah.
Moved from that yard onto Nigel Twiston Davis's.
Good.
And Nigel, the sister to Big Casino, 3rd foal, I think, could be wrong, runs in a bumper at Aintree on Sunday.
All right.
Talk about complicated.
Yeah.
But I was looking through the breeding on the race and I spotted Big Casino and I thought, I remember that horse. That's the last time I tipped a winner.
Yeah. Well, no, let's be fair. You got the biggest price winner on the podcast last summer. 25 to 1. David O'Mara's horse. Forgotten the name of it now.
Yeah, I'm still living off that now. But
I'm sure it broke out the stalls there.
We'll find you some winners and we'll find you some losers as well. There's no doubt about that.
And we'll have a laugh.
We'll have a laugh. We're not here to lie. We're not selling. We're not sponsored by anyone. So I guess we close with, please feel free to tell your friends about this if you like it. Please feel free not to tell your friends if you don't like it. I don't really understand technology, so if you can share it, send links or whatever you need to do, feel free to do so.
There's a way of sharing this. There's a share button right underneath what you're looking at now. Click it. Put it on Facebook. Put it on Twitter. Anywhere you like. Let's see.
And if
Let's
you
see if we can get 1 million.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I'm going to live that long, Ron. Also, as well, I believe there's a comments box or something. I'll laugh off the abuse, so don't bother. But other than that, if you've got anything you'd like to ask, like we started with Rule 4 there. We've got our own list of things that we're going to go through, and no doubt we'll be adding to them as the months go on.
We will.
But if any questions you'd like to ask, realistic ones that we can try to answer, feel free. We'll give it a go. We're here for your benefit, not ours. Right. On that note, we'll sign off, and it's Friday afternoon as we record this, as you can imagine. Have a fabulous weekend. The sun is just about shining outside my window. I hope the weather stays good for you guys and girls.
Lucky old you.
Have a great weekend, basically, and we'll call that a day.
See you next time. Have a good one.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.